of the Guilford Courthouse battle north of Greensboro, North Carolina. And this is the statue of Greene that we would like to incorporate into our monument. And it's the one that is in Greensboro that was erected in 2008. This is the sculptor, James Barnhill. And that was at the dedication of that monument. And again, that's the monument in Greensboro in daylight. It just so happens the location of that monument is in downtown Greensboro. It's at the intersection of two streets where there's a roundabout. They call them down there. We call them a rotary. The two streets that intersect there are naturally, one of them is Greene Street. And call it coincidence or serendipity, the other street is named McGee Street. It actually is McGee Street. So you can look that up on Google. If you want, it's got to be one way. Bingo. Yeah, here's the same statue illuminated at night. And there's another close-up. Now, the sculptor, James Barnhill, he designed the statue to be elevated. It's twice life-size. Greene was about 5 feet 9. And so the statue is 11 and a half feet, the bronze statue. The pedestal is another 12 and a half feet, so it's 24 feet tall overall. But that's the way that the sculptor wants it displayed, and his artistic license, because he feels that in observing the statue, one should be looking up at Greene. That's what he's told me, so that's how he likes it. This is a little depiction that I put together as just an artistic rendering of what our monument could look like at the proposed site here at the entrance to the town hall. And it would be surrounded by a paved area. We've been using this kind of a generic design, but 32 feet by 64 feet, which works out to roughly 2,000 square feet. And we've been taking orders for engraved paver stones that people could put inscriptions on. And they vary in size from 8 by 8 up to 2 foot square. And the white squares on this drawing would depict where the 2 foot square blocks would be located around the perimeter. And here's an example of an 8 by 8 inch block that will accommodate up to 27 characters. And here's an aerial shot. The property in question measures about 12,000 square feet. It's about 90 feet on Route 117, 110 feet on the entry road, 110 feet along the west property line, and about 130 feet across the back property line, which would separate it from the parking area that services the bike path. Doesn't want to change. There we go. All right, just a closer up view of the statue. Now, what's a submarine doing in here? Well, this is the USS Nathanael Greene, and it was a nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine commissioned launched May 12th, 1964, and decommissioned in December of 1986. And the Retirement Association of the Nathanael Greene has made a generous contribution to us because they would like to see the monument erected. This is Steve Ricard. He's the secretary of the association. He lives down in New London, Connecticut, and he made a trip up here to present me with a check for their donation. And the commander, Commander Kerry Gentry, is one of our advisors to our board. This is their insignia patch, and also a brass plaque that actually came from the submarine when it was decommissioned, and they've offered to let us have that to be mounted in their paver at the monument site. Okay, next we have Girl Scout Troop 653. Back in 2015, when we were just starting out with our initiative, they had made our monument their project for the year. And this is on the back row, on the left is Valerie Boudreau, their troop leader. And through a combination of bake sales and car washes, they actually raised $1,000 and donated to our project. And here they are presenting me with the check. They meet over at the Recreation Center. And we gave them this certificate of appreciation. In fact, anybody who donates $100 or more to our cause, we will give them a certificate like this one, acknowledging their generosity. And that's the show. So again, we would appreciate your support in designating or dedicating the site for a monument to Nathanael Greene, that we would be involved with the installation of, and then when it's completed and we have a dedication ceremony, we would turn it over to the town as a gift.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Also, do you have a website that in case any taxpayers?
Oh, yeah, we do. We have,
pages?
and we have literature that we've been handing out in the lobby. It's Nathanael Greene monumentfoundation.org.
Could you possibly talk to Ed? Maybe you can put a link on, on our website.
Maybe
so
we could put a link.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
That way,
it has a lot of information on it, and there are links from our site to the sculptor, to the foundry, and it's very, very informative. And I think people would really enjoy looking at it. We also have a Facebook page too,
okay,
where we post updates. So.
Once again, thank you very much. Still appreciate it.
Okay. Anybody doesn't have any questions, then
No, we don't really have.
So I mean, ultimately, I think we're looking for some type of resolution to be passed to the effect of, granting us, the permission to use that. We find the reason we find that we think that once we have that, we know that in dealing with various foundations, the first question they ask is, do you have a definite site? And without that definite site, they're not willing to open the purse strings. So this is a very important step for us.
And we'll work on for maybe the next meeting. You have a question, Annie? Go ahead.
Yeah.
I should mention that I own a paver, which I purchased
Yes,
many
you do.
years ago. I didn't see any statue going up, so I did call Mr. Johnson. I said, "Where is the statue? Do you still have my money, etc." But he was very.
It's all in Central Bank.
It's all there. But I do have important questions.
Yeah.
I'm not clear on whether you are asking us to give you a 12,000 square foot parcel of land so that a statue can go up, whether you're asking for the lease of the land, you want to just put
No, we
permission
just
to
want
put it up,
permission to place
to place it.
to place the monument there so that we can gift the monument to the town. We're not looking to obtain a piece of property for our own ownership or to have that as ours. It's a gift, something we're doing for the town, and we will turn it over to the town as soon as we have a dedication ceremony.
So
That'll
you
be
would
part of the ceremony, I assume.
So you expect that the town would be doing the upkeep on the statue and the property around it, is that
Well,
correct?
yes, I mean, I think the grass is mowed now, and I think that would be pretty much the maintenance. The fact that the statue would be on a 12-foot plinth, it should keep it out of harm's way, I would hope, from vandalism, plus the location it would be in. Now, we may want to, I didn't touch on the subject, but like the statue down in Greensboro is illuminated at night, and I think maybe some, LED lighting could be installed that wouldn't incur too much of an ongoing cost to illuminate it in the evenings after sunset.
The other question I have is this. I mean, at first blush, it looks very impressive to have a statue by a renowned sculptor on property next to our town hall. But then I wonder about the fact that we really don't have a plan for the use of our property. And so that, to me, is a very valuable piece of property there, which could be used for an expansion of the town hall or what have you. I mean, I haven't heard about any plans like that, but it's a valuable piece of property for us. And so I think we need to think a little bit more about the placement of this and what our plans are for that piece of property. I would like to see the statue up, and I'd like to find a reasonable place for it, which is very visible to our town, so that people will feel very proud of Nathanael Greene. But I just need to know more about the plan for the property, and also whether, in your vision, can other statues go there too? Or do you envision that this 12,000 square piece of property is just going to be for one statue?
You know, multiple statues, I have not considered that, quite frankly. I mean, it's the town's property. Once the monument to Greene is there, I mean, we're not putting any other encumbrances on the property. We're not asking for a right-of-way or easement to it. So, I mean, those are all questions, I guess. They're good questions, but it's for the council to decide based on input from the staff.
Thank you. I just wanted to raise the issue
Yeah.
about the use of the property and what our vision is as a town for that piece of property, because it is a very nice piece of property.
I actually
Yes,
think
it
it's
is.
a pretty nice location for, and if we
Yeah.
were to do an expansion, the chance
Yeah.
of using the corner, but anyway, we can
Right.
have a discussion on that.
Right, obviously, you have to do your due diligence.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe, thank you very much.
Okay,
Appreciate
Harry,
it.
thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Yep. Oh, okay. Arthur mentioned to me that I should mention, and it's spelled out on the website, that our budget for the project is estimated to be $300,000. $185,000 of that is for the statue, about another $28,000 for the granite plinth. And the plan is that the foundry and the artist, they have a relationship with what's called the North State Monument Company in North Carolina. There's a quarry, granite quarry in Georgia, where they would excavate and get the granite from. We felt that connection was kind of important, since Nathanael Greene is buried in Georgia. To have granite from Georgia, I thought we've been kind of a good connection. But the overall project budget is $300,000, but that includes site work, and we are entertaining offers of in-kind services to do any kind of site work or materials that would go into the project. And so those are all, would be factored in. Okay?
Okay, once again, thank you very much, Joe.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank you. Thanks, Joe. Yep.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a building committee report, DHS and PD building. We have that report given by anybody?
We have Mr. Finnegan is here.
I see him back there, okay. Thank you for coming tonight, Bill.
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. So I believe that this will be my last presentation in this capacity on this project in front of this body. So don't take it the wrong way, but I'm looking forward to that being the case. We, at this point, we expected to have a temporary CO by today, but there was some confusion with Tower Construction. Their project manager that was on the project from the beginning resigned 2 weeks ago and left. So there's been a little bit of a changing of the guard. And the new person, who is the principal of Tower Construction, was given some erroneous information that the state was doing all of the fire inspections, which we had an agreement with the town, with the fire officials and the building inspector to issue that temporary CO. So he's going to be getting on that tomorrow, and we expect to have that temporary CO issued tomorrow. so the DHS can begin moving in. Their furniture is in the building, and they should be able to, it's gonna be on their schedule, but I think it will be by the end of October, they'll be completely in there. There was a little bit of a delay for both the police department and DHS to schedule their moves, because until we had the permanent power connected to the building, they couldn't order the internet and the phone service, which was gonna take 3 weeks. So we got permanent power connected 2 weeks ago, and that phone and internet should be connected sometime this week or next, and they couldn't even begin to move in until those 2 services were connected and tested. So at this point, we're looking at DHS beginning to move in as early as next week or whatever their schedule allows for. And the dispatch equipment is coming in for the police department in the middle of October. And that will all be installed and tested, and that should be complete by the end of October. So it's a little bit behind what we said last time I was here. There were the delay of the permanent power being connected and the final decision on some equipment that was going to be put in the building by us caused that to get pushed back a little bit. We have negotiated with Tower that they're going to stay on site without any additional charges through the finish of the project. So I think we're in great shape. We're going to come in under budget, and everything that was in the original scope was completed, and then some additional work, as you all know, is already in the building. I'm gonna take any questions, or?
Yeah, does anybody have any questions? I have a couple myself, but if you, does anybody else have any questions? You know my concern, my displeasure with, I mean, not for you guys did a great job on the building committee, but Tower Construction had a responsibility to have that done by a particular date, and with some reasons that were our fault, so we negotiated to give them an extra month. I'm not for giving them any more month. I know the water, the problem with the electricity was 3 weeks behind. That is the general contractor's responsibility to make all them arrangements. If they fail to do that, it's their responsibility. Now, when we gave the permission to extend it another month, last meeting, there was a $6,000 or $7,000 bill incurred from us to extend our lease to where we currently have the DHS. They owe us $1,500 a day, has per contract. Now, I drove through that site many times this winter. They knew there was winter conditions. There was a skeleton crew. You drove by there at 3 o'clock and there was nobody on site. They had a responsibility to put a crew there all winter and get the job done. They failed to do that. And I understand that some of the reasons were beyond their control, but not all of them. We gave them a month extra, and that should have sufficed, the situations that were our fault. I'm not for giving them more time. I think they owe us $1,500 a day on the time that we gave them the extra month. They were supposed to be in here July 15th. Am I correct on that? July 15th was the original date. We gave them till August 15th. Here we are. We're going to be basically the end of October before anybody moves into that building. And realistically, when will the police department be actually working in there? Maybe mid-November, end of November? It's well past the time they were supposed to. It wouldn't be right of us as a council not to enforce a fine on them that they should be paying, because we're incurring the expenses when this building is not done in time. That's just my thoughts. I don't know if anybody else from the council has any comments on it. Any questions, comments?
Well, I think you're discounting the fact that there are a lot of issues, and you can chalk it up in that one sentence that some were out of their control. Many of the issues were out of their control. And I'm not defending Tower. We worked very, very hard with regular communication to keep them on point and on schedule. I can tell you, we can go down that road, and there will be additional charges from Tower. They will charge us for being on site through the rest of this project. So what you think you may get in liquidated damages, which I don't think you will, because they're going to have plenty of documentation to support work that had to be done in that building that was not in the original plan, that was completely unforeseen, and scheduling that we affected by the permitting process, and they'll go right to this fire department confusion. Whether or not, we'll get to the bottom of that if there is any, but there's certainly some, they'll have a lot of accurate information, in my opinion, to defend against that. I hear what you're saying, but we're in a good position to get that finished without any additional charges.
At the very least, they should incur the cost of rent to continue our building at DHS.
Well,
At the very
and
least.
with all due respect, you haven't been at the meetings, that building is a $14 million building all day long. Everybody worked very, very hard and ground down on every dollar that was spent. And for it's $7,500 a month. If you, come to the meeting and see the goodwill that we're getting out of this company. And I disagree. You can do whatever you want, and we can go after them for liquidated damages. But I think at the end, it's going to be costing the town more money and not get us in any quicker. It may get us in a lot later, in my opinion.
All right, thank you. We're not up for vote, it's just a presentation for the.
Correct,
DHS,
just a
right?
presentation.
We're not making any decisions this evening, so I appreciate that. I know you guys have put a lot of work in time in many meetings, and I don't,
I hear what
not
you're
all.
saying.
know.
I do.
It's just that, our responsibility is to make sure that the town's not paying more money on the rent. That's what really gets me, is the rent that we have to pay, just because, in my eyes, a lack of, all winter that job was a skeleton crew, and that's when they should have really just been in there working and, prepared for the, to make a time on it. Anyway, Mr. Cody, you had something?
Yeah, I'm a little confused. We awarded a contract to Tower Construction to do a project for us from start to finish. Now you're saying that if we try to impose a fine on them for any time overages that the town has incurred in additional rent that we're paying, that they're going to impose charges to be on site until the project is complete. Didn't the contract say they had to be on site till the project was complete? Because the project's not done if they're not on site.
We changed the scope of the project after they started. They didn't know the flow was going to collapse. They didn't know they were going to run into a leach field. They didn't know we were going to delay on pulling the permit. And the list goes on and on and on. So I can provide you with all of that, but sure, that's your prerogative, and you can go that, you can take that position. I disagree with it because I lived it every day.
Well,
for the last
no,
year.
I understand that. I'm just confused by when you say they're gonna charge us to stay until the project is completed. Wasn't that their contract to begin with? Stay until the project is completed. If they, we're talking about something different than them wanting overages and staying till the project is completed. Their contract said they were gonna stay till the project was completed. If there was unforeseen work that had to be done, that doesn't change the contract that they stay until it's completed. They may come back and want to charge us for any overages, and listen, being in construction, I understand that, unforeseen costs. But now if we want them to stay until the project is completed and we try to institute a fine, they're gonna want more money. They're gonna want to be paid to stay till the
Of course,
project is completed.
General conditions. I mean, the dispatch equipment for the police
Didn't
department.
the original contract pay them until the project is completed?
I'm not going to debate that. Sure, I guess, but we changed the scope of the work. And at this point in time, the dispatch equipment for the police department still hasn't been delivered. That was outside of their responsibility.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we need them to be on site to tie that in. So they'll say, we'll pull off a site, and you guys do, you figure that out. If you don't want to pay us to be here, we'll go. That delay is not our fault. So I haven't gone down that road with them because I don't think it's the right one.
Do you have an explanation as to why the equipment is not on site yet?
Sure, because the original plan was to go with the 5,500 and to the police department and specifically Lee Bissett, I think. Sorry, Colonel. Is it Lee Bissett? Did the research and found out that the 5,500 was being sunsetted at the end of this year. And had we gone forward with that, we would have had outdated equipment on the building a month after the ribbon cutting.
I
And
think
we
just
didn't.
voted on that last meeting, just to.
Yeah, the money for all of those funds to do the rest of it, yeah. So that's part of where this delay is coming in from. There's also some other
it was
issues
the
that
right-
we have that I'd rather do in a executive session in reference to some other options that we have with the things with this whole building. And there's more involved, and I think it'd be more appropriate if we do it inside an executive session.
Yeah, no problem. I thank you for all the work you put in. There's no doubt. You guys put in countless hours and the whole committee has done a good job on it. We have to do our due diligence to make sure that the town is, the thing, like I said, that really bothers me is the rent on another building. I understand there's a lot of unforeseen circumstances, but, we'll get through this, and I
Bill,
appreciate you.
this isn't on you.
I'm not taking any of it
You're not taking
personally.
it.
Please,
Yeah.
please, because there hasn't been a major project that's going on in this town since you came here that you haven't been part of, that you haven't volunteered for, that you haven't donated things to, including your own personal time. And I personally appreciate that greatly. So this isn't about you, please.
I'm not taking it that way.
This is about a building that, in my opinion, we should have been in at least a month ago, or at least started to move into a month ago. And we're still a month away from being able to move things in, and we're paying rent on other facilities to support some of the departments in the town of Coventry that need to be supported and have facilities, and it's just more on the back of the taxpayers. It's not even about the council. It's just more on the back of the taxpayers. And I just looking for some explanation, that's all. And you're providing it, so thank you very much.
Bill, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Please, you got a question?
There it is. I just have a real quick question. I drove by today, and when we voted back in 16, there was not a photograph, but a drawing. It had the brick front, it had the large pillars. It looks like a very New England-looking building.
Yeah.
When I drove by today, it doesn't look anything like that. Is the brick going to be put on?
No, that's done. The exterior of the building is done from the street. That was 19 mil, that rendering that was drawn was $19 million.
Oh. So, okay, so we gave that to the voters, and that's what I mean, that's what I
Well,
thought
what was
the
given to
building-
me was a building
Yeah,
and a budget. So that drawing there wasn't an option to make that building look like that. If we were going to knock the building down or go to another site and build it, it may have been at a much higher price. But that building was never. That building was also, if I remember correctly, 15,000 square feet bigger. But that was a big. When we went through the bidding process and the qualification of all the bids, that we've crossed that. We crossed that bridge back in whenever we started this, because that was a bone of contention for some.
Oh.
But that's what happened.
okay.
I am impressed that you were able to stay within the 12 million. I never, ever thought that we were going to do
Well,
that.
and I think you'll make the decision. I think if you ask anybody in that world, what we ended up with is a hell of a lot of building for that kind of money. And yes, it's 90 days or 60 days, whatever you want to do in the debate, but in the big picture, we've got a great facility that's bringing the two departments together, brought the fire department dispatch into it, and it's a great facility, so. But the one thing I wanted to clarify is and perhaps I don't have to cover the 170 and the 60, or do I?
No, that's all part of, because that's outside the realm of the other piece. That's,
It's within the 12 and.
Right,
okay, so
exactly.
I'm good with that. So,
Yep.
Okay,
All right, Bill, thank you again.
okay,
Appreciate it.
thanks.
All right. Okay, Madam Clerk, section C1, please.
Resolution approving the purchase of a 2019 Ford F-550 Super Duty dump truck with plow and sander for the Coventry Parks and Recreation Department.
Welcome, Raina. Thank
Good
you.
evening.
You want to tell us a little bit about it?
So back in July, we put a request for proposals for a F-550 with sander and plow. And so we need it because we have a 2001 dump truck that in October we will not be able to use, as too much body rot, frame rot. And we need it replaced. Most of our vehicles, I handed Joanne some information to share. We have several vehicles, more than half are over 10 years old and over 150,000 miles, close to 200,000 miles. So we need a vehicle.
And I did see the proposals, copies. We all have copies of the proposals. Yeah. We have something else. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think we need one more copy. Do we have an extra copy? We're all set now. I think the president needs one.
The bids are in the packet.
So I just put in the notes, you can just see what we use the vehicles for and the condition and the amount of money we need to invest in them, just to show the need for a new vehicle. And I brought the lead mechanic here, just in case you have any technical questions.
Raina, is this a truck that you spec'd out, or was this a truck that they had available?
So, this is one that we spec'd out, however, there was 2 that had those specs available already.
Okay.
And those were the 2019s. However, 2020s came in, so they still have to build those for us. So we'll be getting, if we could decide to go with the 2020, this bid that came in, it wouldn't be ready till March or so.
Okay.
So you'll be able to get by through the winter? You're not gonna be ready for March?
We will be,
They will be shorthanded, but it's still, but they will be able to function all they can. The problem, what happened is the 2, if you look at your bid specs, the 19s came in actually $7,000 more than the 20s. And obviously, because there were very few of the 19s still out on the lots, they were able to charge a premium price, even though the truck would have been better to be sooner than later. I wasn't about to recommend to the council that we pay $7,000 more so we can get it right now. We can survive, we will survive until it comes in, but I would not justify $7,000 plus more simply to get it now instead of in a couple of months. And it's a newer vehicle as well, what we're getting instead of the 19.
All right, so you'll be able to work amongst departments to get by. All right, all right. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
I have a question. I mean, I wonder about how cost-effective it is for us to run 2 departments with mechanics, their own trucks. We talked about the consolidation, potential consolidation before the last budget as a way of saving money. And I'd like you to please speak to this, Mr.
Certainly.
Orsiga.
Yep.
Okay, because I'm seeing, well, we have the police department with its own cars, and they use a third-party vendor to repair. We've got Department of Recreation. They have their own trucks, mechanics. Then we have DPW. Just how cost-effective is this?
There are the mechanics that we have between the 2 locations. We would still require the 2 all of the same mechanics. There would be no reduction in mechanics on that. As far as combining the 2, we've actually looked at combining the parks department with DPW. We're still analyzing a bunch of numbers, but what we're seeing at this point, the actual savings is going to be, at best, minimal to do that. We still need all the same personnel. We still need all the same equipment. There isn't a lot of overlap in equipment, and where there is, we utilize that. If Parks and Rec needs a bucket truck, we have a bucket truck that they use. So the equipment that can be shared is shared. The equipment that's being used on a daily basis, if it's being used daily in both departments, we can't get away from having that equipment. So there's not really a savings there on that piece. The number of bodies that we have in those departments are at minimal numbers to begin with. There would be no savings by combining those 2. We're going to end up with the same number of bodies that we have right now. That's not going to change, would not change. And that's why I'm saying, looking at that, in some communities, it's cost effective. In others, it isn't always. And we're still looking. We haven't finalized, but we're not seeing as much of a savings as we had hoped would have been possible to combine these 2. The buildings are still buildings are used. One of the issues is moving moving Parks and Recreation's maintenance efforts up to our garage at DPW. We do not have the room in that building to do what we do. Part of the reason that the police cars are not brought up here on a daily basis for the routine maintenance is, again, we do not have the space available to be able to handle those as well as handle all of the trucks and the vehicles that are going out with DPW. And that's where we are at this point.
So is the issue sort of dead now that we're not going to be looking at cost savings and combining, or is that still an open issue?
It is still an open issue. We are still looking if there's some other ways that we could do some cost savings with that, cost sharing. We are looking at that. But as far as combining and bringing all of that under one department, at this point, we haven't seen the reasons that would justify doing that. And we don't have the capability, we don't have the facilities to bring all of that up here. We're going to need to maintain exactly what we've got in facilities at this point. We couldn't change that.
And are the mechanics, are they able to work in either department? So if there's shorthandedness in, say, DPW is the one that works in, rec, able to go over there and help? In other words, are they cross-trained so that they can be used in both locations?
Some of the areas they could probably share on, but a lot of them, if you take the mechanics that are over in DPW, a lot of them are on the diesel, on the big diesels, the Max, the Freightliners. They're not the same as what the smaller, F-250s, F-350s, the small trucks that Parks and Rec uses, as well as the small engine equipment. A lot of what they do over at Parks and Rec are involving the maintenance and day-to-day operations on all the small engines that are involved in the mowers and all of those things. So again, it's two different skill sets for the most part.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Debbie, you have a couple of questions or a question?
Actually, these questions will probably be for Nick. Nick, this did come before council on the 22nd of July. I did bring these questions up prior to the meeting regarding the bid that was put out. It did not list the date, time, and place where the bids would be opened. It also did not list how they would award basis on the lowest bid price or the lowest evaluated responsive bidder. And this one also, it would, if we had heard it on the 22nd, it would have. But it was tabled. I did bring these questions up. It just says for sealed bids will later be opened and read publicly. It doesn't give a date, time, or location when the sealed bids were opened.
Is that, excuse me?
That's not a part of the packet. I just printed that off. Went for our July 22nd meeting. I put it in. I just printed it off the website.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. When you get a bid, when you give a bid, when you give a bid and you're not required to accept the lowest bidder. Usually 99% of the time it does go to the lowest bidder. There's no law stating that we have to use the lowest
No, the
bidder.
law is you got to state how you're going to. But it wasn't listed, and we didn't list the date, time, and place. I just want to make sure that, and we had a resolution awarding this to a $7,000 more to another company.
I understand that, but I do agree with the president. The town council is not bound.
So we don't have to follow the competitive bidding. We don't have to bidding
No,
package.
We're
for
actually
the
going
general
with the
laws?
lowest bid. this
No.
time.
Okay, but we weren't
I'm
before.
trying to figure out what the question is, though. I just
What the
wanna
question
address-
is,
yeah.
we did not put on here, when we sent out this bid, all it said, sealed bids will later be opened and read publicly. It did not state the date, time, and place when the bids were going to be opened.
Is that a law that has to be?
I think this is a question of statutory construction, which you and I discussed.
45-55-5?
I believe so, and we talked about this privately. I think this is the same issue, isn't it? That you.
We've had many issues with the bidding process, but I'm just,
Right, but I think,
and we put the bid out for 2019, so, and in the bid, did you get any, for specifications, did you get any emails from anyone asking to submit a 2020 bid? Because there was one company that did a 19 and a 20.
So I did mirror that sentiment to the town manager. As well.
Did you get emails?
I believe someone called and we did say we wanted a 2019.
Well, according to our bid, our RFP, it clearly states that it has to be in writing.
Mrs. Bacon, can I see a copy of what you've got?
It's off your town website. It's the bid.
Bids will be received until 2 p.m. on Friday, July 12th, 2019, at the clerk's office. Normal business hours, Monday through Friday.
The next paragraph, sealed bids will later be opened and read publicly. What
Is it
day,
required
time?
to send a time?
I don't have the trouble
The
is,
general
I
law-
don't have the document in front of me that you're reading from.
That's the bid.
Is this from the Okay.
That's the bid.
And it says, bid shall be opened publicly in full view of the public at the time, place designated in the invitation for bids. We did not list it. So how would anyone be able to come to wherever they were going to be opened?
Who was usually at a bid opening? Are
I'm-
the bidders usually there, or are the just?
On occasion, some of them may show up. The most part,
The clerk will notify who the lowest bidder is on the job. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you got a truck
we
that's
did.
$7,000 cheaper than anybody else bid, and it's 2020. I really know what the issue is.
I still don't understand the issue. I mean,
I'm just asking, are we going to follow Rhode Island general laws and what they, I mean, they only have a few.
but what is the law that you're
45-55-5 competitive sealed bidding. It's Rhode Island general law. I'm looking at section D.
yeah, I'm listening. 45,
Do you
55,
want-
5, yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
I think what she's maintaining, Mr. Solicitor, is that under that section of of Rhode Island general law, it clearly states that a time, date, and location for opening sealed bids will be advertised along with the bid package when it's sent out. We did not do that. So no one who submitted a bid, or no one from the general public who wanted to come in and watch those bids be open could have, because nobody was notified of the date, time, or location of the bid opening. I think that's what she's maintaining,
Yes.
correct?
Yep, and this section too.
Thank
I'd
you.
like
so
to do
this
one,
isn't the
Gary.
same issue we talked about last time then?
don't say different.
This is a different issue.
Yes. And also look at B, 2B, the invitation for bids shall state whether award shall be made on the basis of the lowest bid price or the lowest evaluated or responsive bid price. We didn't indicate how we would award.
We usually, like I said before, we're not required to go to the lowest bidder, and it's usually done by the department head if they've had any issues with the bidder or so on and so forth. The fact is, we're not required to give it to the lowest bidder. Maybe there's a few $100 difference in the maintenance, garage that we're gonna buy it from is closer than it was buying it somewhere out in Massachusetts. But those are just examples of reasons why we could choose a different bidder. But as far as the date and time, I don't have that copy in front of me when the bid's open. That's the general
I've just
law.
got a question, Mrs. Bacon. Do you feel as though that someone has been harmed, or has someone told you they've been
No.
harmed because that date has not been up?
No,
put out there?
I'm concerned because,
Okay.
we put out a resolution that day. It was already awarded, and we weren't going with the lowest qualified bidder. We were going with someone for $77,000. And here's the problem. What happens if one of these companies wanted to come in and be able to view the bidding? They didn't. I'm just asking that we follow the Rhode Island general laws. That's all I'm asking that we do when we send these out. That's, let's follow procedure, because suppose someone they want to go and sue us. We didn't advertise it properly. And we advertised for 2019. Now we're getting a
We're getting a
2020.
better deal.
We're getting, well,
I'm not gonna-
I know, I understand that, but it states in there that if we're going to change it, that it needs to be in writing. So I just want to make sure we're
No,
following the law.
actually, what we're gonna do is, we're gonna pull this. I'll be honest, I did not notice that in there myself, that it wasn't in there. It always is, it usually is, as far as the date and time.
I mean, I brought it
I did
to-
not notice that it wasn't in there. To avoid any type of conflict, we're gonna put this back out to a rebid. And the truck wasn't coming in for a while anyways. It's not gonna delay any more than it was. And we will
exactly.
rebid this with that proper time and date in there. I apologize to the council for that. I should have caught that before it went out the door.
So motion to table.
Table it, please.
Okay, we don't need a motion, just table it, and, Mr. Solicitor, is that correct? Just a minute.
No, you don't need to do anything.
Okay, so we'll
Thank
just
you.
table it. Okay, Madam Clerk, item C2, please.
Adoption of 2020 Town Council meeting schedule as per Open Meeting Act.
Okay, we have received copies of the meeting schedule. Does anybody have any concerns? personally look to see if the holidays have fallen on.
I didn't check.
You know, I didn't check, so.
Did you check to see if
but
it
here-
fell on holidays? Because I didn't check.
The only other thing is 12/28, which is, well, 12, the Christmas is on oh, that's the following year, I'm thinking, it's 12/28, yeah, I know it's on the
This year would be,
25th.
this year
But it says their office is closed.
23rd.
Yeah, all right, so,
Carrie,
I didn't look to see if there were any holiday, but that can always be changed, but, we have one meeting during the summer, in the month of July and August. I didn't notice if anything was on any other holidays,
No, I would like to mention though, December 28th meeting, we will be closed 24th and 25th. This would be a very tight time, but just so be aware that it will have to be that way if we're gonna have that 28th meeting on here as well.
okay, because the only other meeting is the 14th, so, yeah,
It's in the middle of the month. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, just bringing it
No
up.
problem, no problem. Have you noticed any conflicts, any holidays?
I didn't, I put all the dates on my calendar, I didn't notice any problems, that doesn't mean there aren't any, but I didn't notice any, because I put them in my calendar.
Okay.
I only noticed two. I'm gonna be on holiday in February, and I noticed you have 2 meetings scheduled.
And I don't want to come here on my birthday either, but I'm gonna have to, so, all right, so we look at the schedule, I mean, if we have any issues, you have another?
no, I just had a question. I remember before we discussed when we were doing, maybe it was last year, for the legislators meeting, trying to possibly meet like the beginning of December with them before they get into session. Do you remember we had
Didn't we
some?
try to do that and it
yeah.
didn't come to
Yeah,
fruition?
we tried and it just turned into a bad.
Didn't come to
December's not a good time to get them in anywhere
Okay.
together.
Okay. My other question is, when are we going to do the budget workshop calendar?
Well, that's not up for this month, I mean, this is just for the town.
Okay,
council.
I was just asking
It's
because,
coming up, it will
It's
be
the
coming up
regularly
soon.
scheduled.
okay,
I'm not sure, but this one's just for the actual town council meeting.
Correct.
So,
okay.
with that being said, I guess, the chair will make a motion to accept this, or make a motion.
I make a motion to accept the town council meeting schedule for 2020.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second,
We have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Madam Clerk, item C3, please.
Resolution authorizing GZA change order.
Mr. Manager, I believe you have some information on this.
Yes, I do. Thank you. This involves the landfill and the remediation that's ongoing work that's going on over there. GZA is an engineering firm that's involved with overseeing the project. This change order is to add additional manpower while the capping process is going on, the membrane and all of that. Because they're working at such a pace, they need to be able to maintain oversight at all of those wells and everything they're doing. The contract originally called for just a single engineer on site from GZA. Because of what's going on, the need has arisen to have more bodies on site to be able to watch all of the process to ensure that this is done correctly. These funds are not coming out of the town budget. They're coming out of the fees that have been collected on the bud material going in. So this change order isn't directly paid by the council or the town. It's being paid by the bud fund, the remediation amounts that are coming in from those materials.
Okay, does
But
anybody have-
but it does require authorization from all of the members involved.
I'm just looking, I highlighted this, it says at the bottom, the increased cost as a result of the August 2019 change order will be shared proportionally by the responsible parties on the same percentage that the parties now have for sharing costs. Now, aren't we one of the responsible
Correct.
parties?
Correct.
So
We
so
do
will be paying-
60, we cover 60%
We
of
cover
that.
60% of this, and that's coming out of fees that we're getting?
That comes out of the money out of that account, correct. But it still has to be authorized because it's a change order.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody
Mr.
else
Manager,
have-
yeah, I have a question. And after these fees, we're still in a positive situation with the more funds than we expected.
We are substantially more positive to the tune of the 30-year O&M, which is the operations and maintenance of that site, is also covered and sitting in that account. With the latest numbers, again, these are changing constantly because there's more going on, more material coming in, but we're looking at to the tune of probably about 600,000 to the positive after all of that is done, 60% of which the town would actually receive back at that point, whatever's left. Now, the numbers that we currently have do not include any type of interest income on the millions that are sitting in that account. So there will be interest coming in while this is going on. If all holds, the interest alone should cover just about the annual O&M. If that's the case, there could be conceivably $4 million or so sitting in that account at the end.
And with this change order, et cetera, and do we have an estimated time of completion?
They are moving along at a great clip over there, and as of the last meeting, the estimated time would be by the end of next month that will be completed on the capping process.
And how many months short of the original date?
That is approximately 2+ years sooner than it was supposed to be.
2.5 years sooner, yeah.
And with, again, we've had, since the bud material has been added to the mix, there's been no cost to the town, no additional cost. This project was originally projected to cost millions to the town. I think the town's portion was somewhere around $7 million out of pocket that this was supposed to cost us. This in turn has cost us no additional money other than the beginning when they bought the property back. So we've saved us $7 million and covered the cost of the O&M as well. So this has been a very beneficial program. The site, upon completion, will then be available for solar. If the council so goes that way. We've looked at some companies, and we're looking at approximately $100,000 to $150,000 a year in annual rent or lease fees on that, as well as possible energy source for the town, which we've also been discussing as a power purchase agreement with them, with a couple of different vendors. So,
Now, just to state too, I've driven by in the last couple of days, and it really looks good. The line is really looking sharp and cleaned up, so they got.
it's getting there.
It really is getting there.
One of the neat things with this, if we did go the solar route, we've taken a hazardous site, hazmat site, remediated it, turned it around, secured it, and then utilized that site to provide energy for the town if we go that whole route, which is kind of unique. We were looking at it. This has been almost no times has this ever been done anywhere that we could find anywhere to take it from mess to providing energy for the town. Like I said, if we go that route with this, so it's a pretty neat project, and we've come a long way on this.
Any questions?
Mr. Manager, are we talking about GZA adding more engineers or just staff level people?
Engineers.
To oversee?
It's the engineers on site.
So there'll be more engineers on site overseeing the different jobs that are taking place on the multi-acreage site. So, okay, I'm okay with that. In the end, you know, we talk about what this could be used for, solar, blah, 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 blah. I think any money that's left over in that account or any money that's brought in, rather than putting it into the general fund.
My goal has always been capital improvement, that revolving capital improvement
Yeah,
fund.
see, that'd be all right once the bond's paid back. But right now, the taxpayers okay to bond to cover that project.
The purchase of it, yeah.
Correct. And that money to repay that bond is coming out of the general fund. It would be nice if that was a self-sufficient project and the money coming out of that project went to repay that bond. So it wasn't on the back of the taxpayers. That bond was being repaid by any revenue that's generated from that site.
That's an option. It's a great
That would
option.
be phenomenal.
Yep,
as far
that's a
as
great
I'm
option.
concerned.
All
Yep.
right, well,
That's down the road,
yeah,
though.
that's a matter that we can discuss at another date, but it is a good idea. But
Or a future council.
the matter
Yeah.
at hand would be the resolution authorizing GZA change order. So the chair will entertain a
I know
motion.
who's gonna
Motion.
make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
No, he's make that motion. That's Mr. Cody's motion.
Did you make that motion?
I make that motion.
See that?
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Madam Clerk, C4, please.
Discussion on Reed School House storage.
Good evening, Kevin.
Good evening. Since you were just having a discussion regarding the landfill, part of the reasons that this is before you this evening, I hope you all got the package. And if you allow me to, I got a few comments here to try to explain why we're trying to do this. We're looking to create a municipal storage yard for earth materials. The proposed site we're looking at is a 19-acre site in the town of Coventry that is owned by the town, and it's off the Nike site access road near Reed Schoolhouse Road. The municipal material storage facility will utilize approximately 3 acres of that 19 acres, which is less than 16% of the parcel with access from the Nike site access road. It is bordered by the Kent County Water Authority water tank. To the west, it is bordered by the military base Air National Guard to the east, and by the National Grid power line easement to the south. The site will have a gravel access road with an earthen berm surrounding the area, and it will include a stockpile and storage area bins for the finished product. The municipal landfill capping will be complete by the end of the summer 2019, as Mr. Woznicki just indicated. Currently, Public Works has a material storage area adjacent to the landfill, which will become increasingly difficult to access upon the landfill closure. Public Works is also storing materials at the Central Coventry parking area, and the finished product is at the Public Works facility. The materials currently in the storage area include approximately 5,000 cubic yards of processed material, which we just processed this past summer, plantable soil, gravel, fill and stone from excavations, drainage projects, asphalt millings, and street sweepings. This request is for the sole purpose to save taxpayer money. It is important on two distinct aspects. Any excess construction spoils for the Public Works would result in our disposal cost at Rhode Island Resource Recovery for most of these excess materials. The ability to stockpile and process these spoils for reuse would reduce the cost to the town for earth materials like gravel, stone, and loam. There will be no yard waste, branches, trees, or composting done at the site. If approved, the Public Works will begin the process this winter to prepare the site for use in the springtime. This is only going to save the taxpayers money by us having a place to process the material and also to be able to use that material back out for construction projects that we have in town.
All right, thank you. I understand completely how we need storage for construction, being in construction. I understand, you know, it's a big expense to either dispose of or to purchase if we had to purchase any gravel for any reason. So, you know, that being said, I mean, it's not going to be an area that's going to really be disruptive to the neighbors. Just storing strictly so that an occasional machine will go there and load a truck out, or you'll dump a truck of excess material in there. So, this is the same site that we had a presentation last year from some college students who were.
It is, and I know we heard from the neighbors, from the councilman, that expansion of the yard waste and the storage for storm control was not amenable to the neighbors. So we looked at just the material storage yard right at the road. As you can see in the maps that we provided, it's farther away from the subdivision as it possibly could be.
Well, I just might add, I know you'll say not my backyard, you know, I think this is a topic for another day, but we need to work on a compost site. We really do. And you know, our job as council members is to do what's best for the community. And, you know, there's going to be some opposition, and we try to make it least disruptive for anybody. However, the storage yard, I don't think it's disruptive. That's my opinion. Are there any questions from anybody from the council?
Yes.
Okay.
Kevin, first of all, I think for what you're talking about doing, I think this is a prime piece of property. If all we're gonna do is use it for storage and use the street sweepings and anything else to blend and make a processed gravel to go back out on construction.
Excuse me, he wouldn't even do that, sir. We're just looking for a place to stockpile the street sweepings until we have a rain day, and then I can put trucks down at the hall to resource recovery.
Right.
They'll take it as free for cover.
And I think the location of that piece of property is strategic to your location here, because now instead of trucking or trailering equipment back and forth, it can actually be driven from here to there and load out as many trucks as need to be loaded, and then back here.
Correct.
And doing what needs to be done here. I'm gonna take a ride by and see what the proximity is to residential neighborhoods.
I think that's on the map.
Residential
That's on the map
dwellings.
also.
I see it.
Yep.
Better if I see it with
I
my
understand.
own eyes, you know
I'll be
how
happy
that
to take you up
works.
there and show it to you. So.
So I'm gonna do that, but you know, from what I can see in what was provided to us, is, as long as we're not talking about compost at the present time, I think it's a phenomenal idea.
We are not. Thank you.
So thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I just need to have a clarity again at the difference between what was proposed by the Roger Williams University students in their study and what you're proposing today. Because the neighbors were very concerned about the amount of traffic that was gonna go up and down the street, the amount of noise for processing materials, et cetera, and the potential disruption to the water supply system. So those were some of the major concerns that we heard. So I need to understand what's different between what you're proposing now and what was proposed before.
If you look at the map that I provided, ma'am, the material
This
storage.
This one here?
No, there's another one also. Did you get that one also in the package?
On the back side of it.
Are we talking about this?
Let me,
Sure,
This was the site that students were talking about, the entire site.
yes.
We're looking at just accessing 3 acres towards Nike Site Road. We would not be anywhere near the back of the property. This is where the compost area was gonna be. and
Right.
Where the storm debris storage area was gonna be back here.
Right.
We're not talking about that. We've eliminated that based upon Mr. LeBoston there concerns and and the neighbors here in the Walker Farms subdivision. We're just locating at this point right here. Here's the water tank, here's the military base, and here's the easement right behind it.
So what is the entrance into the site going?
It's gonna be two gravel access roads. And
It's off which road?
The Nike site.
It's off the Nike Site Road.
It's not even off of Reed Schoolhouse.
No,
It's
I-
off of the Nike
No,
site.
I
It's right here,
understand that
this
now.
is right here, that's one of the access, you see the entrance in and out.
So you're not going by any housing developments?
No, man. We have to Reed Schoolhouse Road.
Right.
See what he developed. Okay, got it, good.
And so what is actually going to happen there? You're going to bring materials there, they're going to sit there, and then they're going to be brought out? Or will there be any kind of processing done on that site?
Yeah, we'll be screening some process. When we do an excavation for, like, say, a catch basin or a drainage swale, especially in the western end of Coventry, we have the excess materials. And right now, we would have to pay to get rid of them, or we stockpile them. And as we did at the landfill, we had probably about 8,000 yards of spoils that were there. And now that the whole project got accelerated by 2.5 years by them closing it out, we had to find someplace else to go. So this past summer, we screened some of that material and created 5,000 yards of processed gravel that we can utilize. We have the asphalt millings that come off of the road projects, if I ever get a capital project again. But the millings we have stockpiled for use there and to be able to use throughout the town, whether it be in the western end or whether it be any place that we have gravel roads, we could augment that with the asphalt millings.
So when you say the processing of gravel, is that going to occur on this site?
Yes. It's just a screener, ma'am. It's no crushing or anything. It's just a
No
screener.
crushing, no
No,
noise?
it's just a screener. Okay. And it separates the stones, it separates the gravel. And when we have plantable soil, it also separates that to get screen loam out of it also.
And that won't be an ongoing thing?
Oh, absolutely not. It may happen several times a year, you know, for a week at a time.
Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, Ms. Bacon?
When you came before us in January and with Roger Williams,
Yes.
the students, you said that we would get the final project?
We did get the final project, but at that point, when we get the final project, it was already shot down by,
Oh, but it would be
oh,
nice.
I can provide that to you, yeah.
And,
just-
because I guess when you also, you submitted the management plan, the Coventry management plan to the group, because apparently they use that. Could we also get a copy of that? Because I haven't been able to find that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I've
So-
got a couple of questions. Are you done?
Oh,
You got
no, I
more?
was just
No,
gonna
no, if
have,
you've got
we,
more,
I
go.
may,
But I
it's
just thought
probably,
you were
I
done.
could be stepping on your toes because
No,
I
no,
want to
no,
know
I
about the
just
neighbors.
thought you were done.
No, I just want to make
Okay.
sure with the neighbors, I want to make sure that the neighbors are being notified about this, because that was one thing I know when this was being talked about a whole other facility. I just want to make sure that the neighbors are notified.
The neighbors were concerned in almost every email that I received, and every email, I think Councilwoman LeBoston was about the yard waste, the composting, in that facility being located. We've eliminated that. It's not going to be part of this. It's going to be just materials at
But
the.
I still think the neighbors should be
Well,
notified.
and that's, I'm welcome to have that be brought forward to them.
And I do have another question. I don't know if it's for you or for Nick. Is this whole area right here, is this RR2?
That's what it says.
Is this permitted in RR2?
I am not sure, I'm looking right now.
Well, ma'am, I would think it would be as much permitted as a water tank or military base would be in an R2 or 2 zone. This is something that is a temporary, is nothing, no permanent structure is going to be there. This is just something that we are going to utilize for, I believe the buildings right here are all in RR2 zone that the annex is located. I mean, we need to think at what the community needs are, what the taxpayer savings are going to be, and not.
Do you have the taxpayer savings? Do you have do you
You
have
haven't,
anything right now?
no one has approved it, so we haven't done that kind of study yet.
Okay.
But if we are able to save 5,000 cubic yards of processed gravel, which we have now, at a cost of $12.50 per cubic yard, that's substantial. That's just one item.
Yeah.
Having to have our sweeper and our trucks that are working with the sweepers go to the landfill every day that when they're sweeping, and not having a place to stockpile it so that I can put 5 or 6 trucks on it when it's raining, that's a loss to the town. Productivity is going to be lost. The sweeping schedule would be reduced. Again, there's a lot of factors in here that, the asphalt millings, that savings alone by taking that.
And I understand that, but we also have to look at this. This is RR2.
I
These
understand.
folks purchased their property. It was RR2 not having anything like that in their backyard. So we really have to go, and I understand, but we also need to, we have the residents that live there. So we
understand.
really, I'm concerned about the residents also.
Mrs. Bacon, that's why we've got it just as for discussion.
Yeah.
That's all part of, if it looks like there's any flavor for going forward with this, and we would do more on it. But right now, this was just to get it out in front of the council to get.
Could we please get that full report? Because I mean, this is just one little portion, and
But the full
know what-
report is about the entire thing. ma'am. That's
and
not-
I understand
Okay.
that, but if there is a report, so that's out there, and
I'll
we
have it
know
for you
how
tomorrow.
some folks on the council feel about making this a whole municipal compost facility. So I really want to make sure that we all have, I know you're looking at me strange, but your brother always says he's in favor of it, so
No,
that's
no,
why I'm saying it.
what I'm not understanding is you're looking about the compost facility. I'm not proposing a compost
I
facility.
know you're not proposing it, but what I'm
And that
saying,
would-
we're
and that-
looking at the big picture,
Yeah.
and I know that's out there, that big picture about having a compost facility there. So let's all get on the same
I
page,
agree.
and let's all see the final report.
I can
and
have
let's
that for you
find out
tomorrow.
what the RR2. Okay.
Have it for you tomorrow.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mrs. Bacon, when you asked for the final report, what is this final report? Who's producing it?
That was the Roger Williams, when they
The
came
Rog-
before
The Roger
us.
Williams report?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they told us that
Now, I know they were gonna present us a final report.
students will give the town a final and complete report that they will be able to use. So this was a final report that they were going to give to the town, and that we would be able to use, to move forward with a facility
But
like
that
this.
final plan, Ms. Bacon, was shot down
Was shot
because of
down,
Mr.
yeah.
Labassenere's discussion with the neighbors. and so we decided-
They were out in force, there's no
Well,
doubt
I'll
about it.
have it to the manager tomorrow morning. He'll have emails,
Yeah,
email form.
That's fine.
So I agree with Mrs. Bacon that oftentimes we're told we're gonna get a report and somehow things slip through the cracks, et cetera. So it's a good thing if we were promised a report to be able to have a copy of that report.
Absolutely.
Even though we understand that that report was for a facility that was going to be able to do things that are not in your current
Correct.
plan or proposal.
I agree.
Thank you.
Okay.
I
You
do
have
have,
a question?
I do have a couple of things, yeah. One is, the zoning regulations do call for no open storage of sand and gravel in an RR2. It does prohibit that. And to change it would be, the zoning certainly would be difficult. My question though, Kevin, is we're closing up the landfill. Now, where it's being closed, is that the end of what that site is? Or do we have any other acreage which is off the part being covered there?
We have about a half of an acre that's in the back corner, which will be encompassed. We'll have a small road getting down towards there, and it'll be restricted access getting in and out. And I'm sure Mr. Wozniak can explain more in detail to you regarding that site, what that would encompass.
Because I was just curious, and again, because I know that there's area going down there, not knowing whether that.
A lot of that site, though, there are retention ponds on there.
Yeah.
There's all swales on where the water's flowing through, so there's a lot of limitations on that to be able to utilize. There is a very small area that they've left in the back area of it, but it's gonna be very restricted to even get in there and utilize that, especially with security, as well as it's a distance away from where the trucks are in town with DPW, so it's, just back and forth. But the limit on the site itself has got severe limits because of what it's there for and what, we've got to be very careful we don't do any damage to anything that's there with that membrane and the rest of it.
But I mean, would it be, in any of that site, or would any other part of that land be able to be, agreed?
No.
No other.
It all,
The landfill is gonna end up taking up 99.9% of that site, other than the access roads around it, yes.
Okay.
All right, so this is just up for discussion tonight. So
Yeah.
we have brought up some
Okay.
good points, and we'll certainly look into them, and just if anything else comes about, we'll let you know. But we brought up some good points, and we'll do some of that.
Okay.
I'll do
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great. The next item, Madam Clerk, D1, please.
Application for renewal by Tammy Capezza, doing business as Just for Fun for a 90-day peddler license, mobile gift shop.
Is there anybody from the applicant here? No, there isn't. Do you have any, we've reviewed the application, mobile gift shop. I'm not familiar. I think it's the first time. Is this the first time?
No, it's a
Second.
renewal.
Second time? Okay, all right. I mean, I don't have any questions. I've read over the application. There's no concerns from the police department or the zoning officials. Does anybody have any questions, concerns? Okay, well, the chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the license.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Madam Clerk, the next item on
Actually,
the,
we're gonna hold on
Mr.
that one.
President, on the next item, we're asking to hold.
okay, so, D3 then, please.
Application by Boza Brian, doing business as Borelli's Pastry Shop for a new victualling license, change of ownership, 765 Tyoke Avenue.
Okay, is there anybody? Yes, okay. How you doing, sir? Name and address for the record, please.
For the business or my own?
Oh, you,
143 in the cot. I'm Warwick.
speak right in the mic so everybody can hear.
143 in the cot, Warwick, Rhode Island.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so what are you looking for? You new owners of Borelli's?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I've looked over your application. Does there anybody have any questions? It pretty much may run the same as pastry
It's gonna be
shop?
the same. I've been in the industry for 20 years, so let's keep it running the same. Improve a little couple of things and offer more for the
Congratulations.
town. Thank you very much.
Good for you. I wish you a lot of luck. Borelli's has been there for years and years, so good for you. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, just don't forget my rice pies at Easter.
I will. Which one is your favorite, pineapple or the plain?
With the pineapple, absolutely. Yes. Two.
Okay. Just mention my name.
Actually, this question's not for you, it's for the clerk.
Okay.
Do we have from the zoning officer, it says waiting for response. Do we have anything?
No, we do not have a response as of yet. I think somebody was on vacation.
You would approve it pending that coming in, the
Okay.
way we've done in the past.
Okay.
Okay, so with that being said, there's no other questions for the applicant, or do you entertain a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for approval, pending the clerk receiving the rest of the paperwork.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second it.
We have a second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries.
Quiet.
Thank you very much, sir. Good luck
Thank
to
you,
you.
guys.
okay?
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you for doing business in Coventry.
Yes, too.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, E1, Madam Slick.
Approval of sewer tie-in, Tyoke Elementary School, 170 East Shore Drive, Plat 31, Lot 90.
Does anybody want to comment on that, Mr. Manager?
We have all the paperwork in on that. There's no issues that I'm aware of on this.
And I'm assuming that has appeared to the sewer subcommittee?
It has.
Has been approved?
It has.
Okay, well, with that being said, do you have a question?
I actually have quite a few questions. Why did the town put in this application? I know, but on Thursday night, we had our meeting with the school committee.
Okay.
And a question was asked, I believe Ann asked the question about putting in, what was it, the application?
The application for a letter of intent required that the applicant who was submitting the letter of intent must be the owner of the property.
So,
And we were told that the town owns the property, but the legal counsel for the school committee said that by law, they are the custodians of the property.
But we own it.
but
We own it.
but we own the building, I mean, and I get that with the school, so is their septic system failing?
I am not aware of it failing, but they wanted to tie in. They wanted to bring it in.
Because I
must be
couldn't find
failing.
anything on the school committee meetings that they discussed it, that they voted to do the tie-in. So I'm just really curious because, like I said, Thursday night, it was stated that, the care and custody is for the school. They're doing all the applications, they're doing it. And I just found this odd that it came before us. So my other question is, who's paying for this assessment, the sewer assessment?
The assessment?
Yes.
We haven't discussed this with them. The bottom line on the assessments, it's gonna come down to, it's all our money. One of the proposals that we have, and that'll be coming up shortly in front of the council, is utilizing the loan to the sewer enterprise fund that the general fund issued, and utilizing that to pay off all of the assessments for all town buildings, and to write down part of that loan. It was brought up by the town. The Auditor General's office thought the idea was a great idea on how to do it. It's in the Auditor General's recommendations. So that is going to be coming up shortly once we have all of the assessments in the DHS PD building, as well as this. So it's all town money, whether it's coming from them or from us, to put it to them and then have them ask us for more money to pay it.
Well, I was wondering, because if it comes out of their budget, would it be coming out of capital or
It
out
won't
of
be,
their
it won't be,
operating?
well, it won't be coming out of anybody's budget as long as the council approves doing that and doing it as a write-down. It would be, it's money that's already been lent to the enterprise fund, and we're gonna utilize that to write down some of that debt to the general fund.
And who's going to pay the sewer usage fees?
That comes out of them. That's, the school pays
So,
those.
but we're taking the initiative to go and hook them up. So here's my other question. Why did Crossman Engineering, the town engineer that we hired, why and who told them to file the application? What is the purpose of filing this application and the sewer tie-in?
I cannot give you an answer to that, ma'am.
Okay, so the fees that are listed on page 100 and 101 of this document, there's a $400 fee and a $300 fee. Who's paying those?
It would be them paying it. It's not gonna be us, it's not the town paying it.
So,
Any of the fees associated with that was coming from the school department.
Okay, so the school department, who the school committee hasn't discussed or voted on it, we're gonna go and hook up, and then we're gonna go and say, oh, by the way, you're gonna start paying these things? When is this supposed to be hooked in? When are they gonna do that?
I do not have a date on it, ma'am. I have not been given that
Because
date.
school's in session, so, all right. And when we had our joint meeting on Thursday, this would have been great to have on, by the way. And we're discussing about having they're looking at all of their buildings, all of their facilities, and looking. Why would we go and put money and hook this school up to a sewer? We have no idea, and within about 6 months, we're gonna find out a plan from the school department, what they're thinking. Suppose, and I'm just saying, I'm not saying this is happening, but suppose they come back and they say, you know what? Tyoke Elementary, Black Rock, those two schools are so old. You know what? We're gonna close those two schools and we're gonna go and build a whole new school. What happens? Hey, I'm just saying, we have no idea, but.
If that was to take place, ma'am, we're talking years down the road if it was
And I
ever.
understand that, but
And with
is,
a possible failing septic system, and I'm just
Do you
assuming
have-
that's why they want to connect,
okay, so.
then they need to do it.
Do you have something in writing? Because the school committee, I can't find anything on their meeting minutes that they have said, they had a discussion, our septic system is failing, we're gonna go and ask the town to to hook up. Why wouldn't they fill out
If you want to
the
hold a vote
application?
on this, and I will contact them and bring one of them in here for the next meeting, if that
I think we
makes it
really,
easier, or,
why wouldn't the, so my other question is, why wouldn't the school committee, Ed, I know I'm aggravating you, but.
no, you're not, no, you're not, ma'am.
I mean, I got all my questions, well, you rolled your eyes. So,
I'm not
again.
rolling your eyes, it's just me.
He was blinking at me. He wasn't.
Oh,
Thank you,
he's
Ann.
blinking, okay.
He was perfectly fine.
And me.
Oh, was it?
Wait a minute.
Holy shit.
I was rolling my eyes.
I was getting nervous. I thought it was me.
It was me. Okay,
You bring
sorry,
up some
sorry.
good points,
folks.
but I'm
So I
looking-
have another question. Why wouldn't the school committee, why wouldn't the school department put in the application?
Again, town building, it was put in, we filed it.
I noticed Jason from the physical plant file and fill out the application.
Exactly.
You know, it's a town building. but
It's a town
they-
building.
the school
So,
department.
okay, so I guess when we do, if they have any construction projects, is the town gonna be filling out all of these applications and everything?
We're talking two different things, ma'am.
I don't think we are. I mean, I just wanna make sure, I think we need to have the school department in here. I wanna make sure.
As
that
I
they're-
said, if you'd like, we can table this, and I will have a rep
'cause we
from
saw-
there if you want to do that, if you don't
We-
want to pass this tonight.
Well, this is already passed through the sewer subcommittee.
And they've
We
handled-
discussed it. It's obviously a need by the school department. I
But we don't know if there is a need. We don't have anything in
They
writing.
would not apply for a tie-in to the school, to the sewer system if there wasn't a need. Obviously, there's a failing or issue with their septic system. They're not just gonna tie in for any reason. I mean, we own the building, we put the application, but I do see our physical plant
Yeah, they're supposed
operators, from the school department.
And did he submit a report to say that their septic system is failing?
No one said it is. I mean, under our ordinance, they're supposed to tie in, if it's in front of their building.
The system is failing or not. That's not, believe it or not, that has no bearing on our ordinance, and it should, but it doesn't.
Mr. President, there are a number of issues relating to this. I really don't have any problems in approving a tie-in. However, there are some fees listed here that need to be paid by someone. $300 listed on page 101, on page 100, $400. I just want to ensure that the school committee or the delegate, the
The
superintendent.
town will not be paying those fees, ma'am.
No, but I'm just suggesting that someone sit down in your office with someone from representing the school committee, that they look at all this paperwork, they understand what their financial obligations are, and that everything is A-okay. And I think that once that is done, then we'd be ready to vote on this very quickly. But I just feel uncomfortable because there are lots of papers, I've gone through all this. I don't know what the school committee actually knows about this project or not.
I don't know what the school committee knows about it either. I mean, I know it appeared in front of the committee.
Yeah.
that
In
we
charge
want
of the
tie-in.
physical plant operation.
Yeah, the guy in charge of physical
Yeah.
plant, obviously there's a need for it. I mean, I don't know, I didn't check the school committee's, their website or their minutes to find out.
Yeah.
But obviously there's a need for it. So it appeared in front of us, the fees are gonna be paid by the school, not by, we own the building.
But do they know that? Do they know what their obligations are? That's all I'm asking.
When they came in and the paperwork was done, I advised them we weren't paying the fees on it. So, yeah.
So you advised whom, was it
When the
Mr.
sc-
Martin?
When they came in to bring the paperwork in and they gave it to
Okay,
Stephanie, Mrs. In, they were advised that we were not picking up the tab on the cost of those applications. The town was not paying it. So they were advised.
okay, I just want to clarify, they were advised? Was it the superintendent? Was it someone in?
I was in my
high
office
authority?
working on something else.
Okay.
Stephanie called me, stated they were in, and I advised her that we were not paying for it, that they have to pay those application fees.
Okay.
So it was
So
either the
she-
engineer or
Correct.
the physical plant director, one of the two.
Correct.
All right. I just want to make sure they know that they're paying the money. It's not costing the town. There obviously is a need for this tie-in. Like you said, we're required to have them tie in anyway, if we haven't
Correct.
been enforcing it.
Correct, it's a town, even though it's a town building,
Right.
we're not exempt from the
I
ordinance.
just don't know if it's gonna do them any good to wait. I mean, I think if they put this application because they need to tie in, there obviously is a need for it, and it's not just a want, it's a need. They obviously having issues with their septic system, so. Yes.
I just have two more questions. How much did this cost the town, Crossman Engineering, to draw all of these plans up to submit to West Warwick? How much are we being charged?
No,
Yeah, but
they're our
they-
engineer, ma'am.
I know, but I mean, what's our bill with them? I mean, did they charge us for this project? I mean, do they charge us per project, or do
No,
we?
it's all, it's on salary. He's there 20 hours a week. He's on site 20 a week. That's something we started a year plus ago when, Mr. Joyle.
Okay,
So they are our town engineer. They are paid
Yeah.
a weekly a
Okay.
weekly amount.
okay, so my other question is, on page 94 of 141, at the very bottom of that page, oh wait. It says the name and address of the person or firm who will perform the proposed work is Town of Coventry, Department of Public Works, or its subcontractor. What work is that? Is that doing the sewer line?
No.
What's this?
I don't know why that's on that way, to be honest with you. Kevin's not here. Obviously, I did not fill out the paperwork. All that means is somebody
Yeah,
will
but
be
you
doing, it's
signed
not
it,
our,
Ed.
I know I signed it, ma'am. I signed all of that. And it will be done by a contractor. It will not be done by the town. We do not do that kind of work. That's why it says subcontractor.
Okay, so do they serve breakfast at the school?
How would I know that?
Well, because you filled out the paperwork.
But how
that's
would I know
why.
that they do
I don't,
breakfast?
because it's Monday through Friday lunch, but breakfast was not filled out. Do they serve breakfast at that school?
I think it's a Title I school, and I think they do provide.
Okay, so
breakfast.
we don't even have that filled out.
Well, I mean, I'm only,
that's why-
I'm only saying that based on what I know, but.
I
it
just want to
needs
make
be
sure that
clarified.
if the school department didn't fill this out, I mean, especially, breakfast, I mean, does that have anything to do with the calculations?
I don't know, if they serve a carton of milk, a bowl of
I
cereal.
don't
Yeah.
know.
muffin,
I-
I don't know how much of this is gonna make an impact.
I don't know.
Unless the kid's gotta go to the bathroom after he has breakfast, I mean, I really don't know what, the difference is gonna be, I mean,
That's why the school department should have filled it out.
They're not cooking breakfast.
no, they're not cooking, they're giving a piece of toast.
They don't
and a-
prepare
and a
them
thick
there.
carton of milk.
Cereal bar, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we've had a lot of questions, but what's on the agenda is approval for a sewer tie-in. The chair will entertain a motion. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion to tie in the Tyoke Elementary School. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. The next item on the agenda is, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
E1.
Tax assessors, additions and abatements.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Too close. Okay, so we've got our second batch of abatements here off this 19 tax roll, and we've got additions exceeding about 20-some thousand more than the abatements. So it's a net positive to the town's revenue stream, so. But any specifics, I'd be more than happy to go over it.
No, I looked it over, it was thorough. I don't know, does anybody have any questions? Yep.
I have one question.
Sure.
Hey, Chris.
Hi.
On page 123, do you have the same packet we do?
No, but I'll find it. Tell me which one you're looking for.
It's under new receivables.
Sure.
It's the last page.
Yep.
It says 211 Nooseneck Hill Road, LLC, West Greenwich.
Yep.
How's-
That's the mailing address.
Okay, that's the mail. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, that is, the location is 2011 Nooseneck Hill Road. That's the Dollar General.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
because
right.
it wasn't complete on the assessment date, so this is one of the ones where we'll send them the bill for the completed project from the CO date through the end of the year.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. That's
Yeah,
all.
this is the mailing address on that line item. It
Okay.
doesn't tell you actually the location.
I
It's
just
the
wanted to
account number.
confirm, that's all.
Sure.
I assumed it, but,
Nah, I can't bill West Greenwich, although we'd like to sometimes, but we're not allowed to.
Any other questions from anybody from council? Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the assessor's report.
We have a motion, we have a second?
I second the motion.
We have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda, Madam Clerk, F1, please.
My favorite item on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
New Class C liquor license, Mr. J's Havana Shop and Lounge Incorporated, 2080 New Snack Hill Road, Paul Joyle.
Okay,
Thank you for
sorry.
hearing me tonight.
Your name and address for the record, please.
The address of the building or my home address?
Your home address.
73 Perkins Street, West Warwick.
And your name?
Paul Joyle.
Paul Giles. Good evening, how are you, sir?
Very good. Yourself?
Okay, you want to tell us a little bit? I mean, I noticed you're doing some work, you're putting a new shop down the old pizza place, so
It's not a pizza place anymore.
No, it
It's a
was.
Havana
Former
smoke shop.
Havana
Thank you.
smoke shop. So can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. What I've done is we're in a process of, we're selling the family liquor store that me and my brother have owned for the last 49 years. And I just wanted to reinvest here in Coventry. We had done business in West Warwick for 49 years. We got a great opportunity to move on. We're going to do that. My cigar business has always been terrific. I've always wanted to I'm actually chasing a dream here. I've already done it, but I'm doing what I want to do. I'm 64 years old. I'm looking for an end game. I want to get my kid involved. And we just put in a beautiful, if anybody wants to stop in, they're there constantly, but the bar's going in now. We plan on putting about 26 to 28 seats in a horseshoe bar. We'll probably sit about 25 people besides the bar. Later on, we'll be putting a deck, but we're putting in something really nice. We got a fieldstone fireplace that will be going in shortly. It's going to be a beautiful place. I think Coventry will support it without a doubt, and be the first one with the cigar bar, have the liquor, and I've got liquor experience. We've been dealing with this all our life, and I think it's just a perfect situation for the town. I think it's a perfect situation for me, and I think it's a marriage made in heaven, to be honest with you. And so far, I have to tell you, what the positiveness that I've heard from people on the street, I don't care where I go, if I'm in a restaurant, people are really excited about it. They're looking forward to it.
I do enjoy a good cigar once in a while, so that's good.
Mr. Joyle is investing a substantial amount of money in this project, to say the least. I've been over there a couple of times to check to see how the work has been going, and it's going to be an absolute beautiful location. I think it's going to be a benefit to the town. It's going to be a business that I think we're all going to be happy to have in our town. I can't say enough that I recommend that we approve this license when it gets to that point.
Would you just explain the difference with the Class C license?
The Class C license is mandated that they cannot prepare food on the property. That's why we opened the Class C up a few months ago. For that purpose, they're not allowed to prepare food. They are allowed to bring outside food in from other vendors. They can from other companies. They can bring them in and they can have it in the place, but they just can't prepare food inside the location itself.
I've already spoken to Jay at Mealworks as well. I mean, we've known him for a long time. My son knows him well. Like I said, we're both going to be supporting one another. I've already talked to him about future dinners, game dinners. I've already spoken to Kyle at Midstate. He wants to do some pin shoot sometimes, and then maybe a dinner after. I just think it's win-win for everybody.
Well, I think so too, personally, and I wish you a lot of luck in that. Is there any other questions from council?
Yeah, where Mr. Joyle?
Yes.
Over here. Nope, look up at the council.
Normally we'd be talking to his dad.
Yes.
Where exactly are you going to put the walk-in humidor I can go look around in?
Right on the left-hand side.
You walk one step in, and it's right there on your left.
On the left?
Yeah, actually, there's been.
I'll show them the photos after.
There's pictures on Facebook. Actually, the downstairs humidor, because I've got a huge wholesale business. I've got about 200 wholesale accounts nationwide. I've got a humidor bigger downstairs that was just built, and all the racks went in today. The upstairs one is strictly, strictly for the showcase, just
Yeah.
each single box, but all the storage is downstairs. I tell you, they're there daily, every day from 7 to 2. You should stop in, walk in, it's wide open for anybody, Greg
Well, I
stopped
don't-
in the other day,
I don't, from sitting up here, and being in Coventry all of my life, I don't know what made you want to come and invest in Coventry after the successful business your family has run over on West Warwick Avenue for so many years. But I don't know, and maybe you're not in a position to explain that, but from me to you, from a lifelong resident of Coventry, all I can say is thank you. We need more businesses here. We need new businesses here. We need to be innovative in attracting new businesses here, and that's why this council was so excited about reenacting the Class C liquor license on behalf of the establishment that you wanted to put in, because we're gonna take them on a case-by-case basis, I don't know what made you decide to come here, but
Can
on
I
behalf
answer
of
that?
myself and the taxpayers here, thank you, because I think you're gonna be a big plus to the town of Coventry.
I appreciate that backing, but it's a real simple question, and it's a very easy answer. You've already been really successful at one thing, and I don't care how long you do something. After 49 years, when someone makes you an offer that you can't refuse, you take it. It's as simple as that. And to have the opportunity to go forward with something that I just know inside and out, and it's like, I just always wanted to do this, and I thought the location was perfect. Nothing against West Warwick, but to put a high-end lounge with the cigars, most of my cigar business came from outside of West Warwick anyway. They were traveling, so, excuse the pun, I'm not trying to blow smoke up anybody's butt, but Coventry here and that location was perfect. Right off 95. The location just couldn't be better, and I just think.
As soon as you get open, I'm gonna bring Deb and Ann in, I'm gonna purchase them their first cigars.
Well, once again, I want to echo his comments too. Thanks for wanting to do business in Coventry. And you have a question?
I'll take credit for bringing Paul over. So,
Okay.
And that's why I won't call him Mr. Joe, because that's what I call his dad.
That's right.
It's Paul. We've known each other for too long. I have one question.
Sure.
What are your hours of operation going to be, Paul?
First of all, it's a lot of lounges open at 12 or 1. Like I told you, I've got a heavy retail business.
Yep.
I plan on opening at 8:30 in the morning, having coffee, and I don't exactly know what the liquor pouring time will be. I don't know if it's. You can tell me that on a Class C. Is it like at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock afternoon to midnight? I don't even know. Whatever it is. But I am planning on opening. Right now I have
With
people
your-
to come
that's
in
what
for
I mean, with your
coffee
retail,
and do their
you'll
computer
have
work.
two. That's what I mean. You've actually got 3 different aspects to your business. You've got your wholesale, your
I've got 3
retail,
businesses
and,
in there.
and your lounge area.
I
so which is
had so badly outgrown the other
is-
place.
oh,
I was
yeah.
doing it rent free. We're in our own building, but it came at a cost. I felt shackled.
But, yeah. But again, we can. You figure
I believe
out
the opening is 8 o'clock in the morning and midnight.
and,
on-
And whatever
midnight
that liquor,
closing.
if it's 1 o'clock,
I
2,
know
whatever, I
you'll-
don't care.
you'll
It doesn't make a
abide by that
difference.
as well too. So, anyway, with that being, you've got questions, Deb? Because
When are
we're
you
gonna
opening? When's your grand opening going to be?
My gut feeling, they're going fast now,
I know, I
real
see
fast.
it every day.
I personally think we'll be able to be open by probably early November. Hopefully early November.
Excellent.
They're going really fast.
And you have a question?
Thank you.
I know this will sound like nitty-gritty, but this form is not completed. So I would ask that the clerk, whoever receives any kinds of forms from anyone, make sure that it's completed. It asks for dates of incorporation, addresses, is the property mortgage, and so on and so forth, address of the applicant, et cetera. So there are many pieces of information that we ask.
I
from the
may
clerk.
have that. At the time I filled that out, they told me I should get the paper in. The attorney, family attorney, was working on incorporation. I may have that tomorrow, the federal tax ID. All of this is, I can probably have this.
That would be great.
Those questions, when we got the paperwork in, because of the time delay to get it
Sure.
onto this meeting, it wasn't all the way, and that will be complete before it's finalized and
I
processed.
did know there
But it
was
was to ensure that this was done for this meeting on why it's
The
there a couple of.
stipulations.
I understand that, but every meeting I ask that we look at all the forms that we have so that we can do due diligence in reviewing what the applicant is asking for. And so I just wanted to point out that this is just another application in which there's missing information, and we need to do due diligence on this. Thank you.
I understand.
Thank you. Any other questions to the council?
I don't have any more questions, but I'll make a motion to open public hearing. As we-
Okay, yep. We have a motion to open public, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Public hearing is now open. Is there any members from the public who would like to come up and comment on this? Seeing, you do. Come on up to the podium, please. So you probably just have to move along to the side. so-
Paul, yeah, you're gonna have to move off to the
Just
side.
gotta come up to the microphone.
Name and address for the record, please.
My name is Mario Petrarca. I live on Harkney Hill Road, and I'm own the property right next to his, and I welcome his business. I think we'll add value to the entire property on the entire
Great.
road.
Great.
So welcome.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Is there anybody else from the public who would like to make a comment? Seeing none, motion to close public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing.
We have a motion, we have a second.
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 Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Public hearing is closed. A motion to, no, do we have it? Yeah, action.
That's Mrs. Bacon's district.
Yeah, we have a motion to,
If you'd like to make a motion.
Yep, I'd like to make a motion
okay,
to accept the class.
accept the Class C, okay. We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Okay, we have plenty of seconds. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
See you soon, Mr. Joya.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, G1, please.
First reading of sewer assessment assistance program.
Okay, Mr. Manager, you want to comment on that?
This is the resolution that we had brought up two meetings ago in reference to assistance for any of the new sewer assessments that will be coming online over and above the 15% of their assessed property value. With speaking with the solicitor, it was decided instead of doing this as just a resolution, we decided to make it an ordinance to put it in that way, and that's what this is about. It's just the first step on getting that passed.
The only mistake I see that I didn't notice when I was signing it was you have my name under District 5. That would be the only difference. So yeah, it's District 3. Okay. That would be the only mistake.
Yeah, I didn't sign that.
You didn't find that one? So,
I saw,
are there any
I
questions?
found that one. I saw District 5.
Yeah, okay.
I do have questions.
Yeah,
Is it time
okay.
for questions?
Yes, time for questions.
Okay. Who drafted this ordinance?
I believe Mr. Arnett drew the guidelines for it.
Okay. All right. So I know that I'm recently appointed to the Waterman Fisk Trust Fund Committee. We haven't had a meeting yet. But I do have questions about the Waterman Fisk Fund, one of them being the original document that Mr. Waterman and Mr. Fisk leaving their estates to the town, and what did they express in those original agreements for what the money is for? I know it's for the needy, but do they have any specific?
For the poor.
For the poor. Okay, I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
They didn't have sewers back then.
Chuck?
I wasn't really being prepared to talk on this one tonight. I thought we were just doing the reading. So I haven't received any questions at this
Well,
time.
when we kind of
I
did the
can walk
Waterman.
into the office and grab it for you if you'd like me to
Because
read
I
it.
also.
just interject for 1 second?
Sure.
This is not the end all. This is simply to introduce
Oh,
it.
I know, but
Let
I'm
me-
just starting with all my questions.
I know,
mean,
but hold on. There's going to be a public hearing on this. It can't be approved by the council without a public hearing.
Oh,
So-
so we can't ask questions tonight?
Well,
Usually
I mean,
the first
it's
reading
just,
was on.
at the first reading, we usually don't. But
Okay,
I'm just trying to
I'll come up
give
with
you
more
a.
then for the.
Yeah, I'm sure.
If you'd
The
like to
public
send
hearing-
Mrs. Bacon, if you would get me those questions that you have, we'd make sure that we have
Well, I kind of
any,
have them all over the place.
any
so-
documentation that you would like or
Absolutely.
need, and we would have that for the whole council. So if you've
Okay.
got some concerns or questions, that's
Well,
why we
the,
did it
Well, that's
4
why I
weeks
was gonna
ago.
do it
The other
publicly,
thing I
but
would point
So-
out the charter also allows amendments to be made at the public hearing.
Okay, well,
So-
there's just probably lots of questions regarding new hires, definitions, defining things, also the Waterman Fisk Fund. I just want to know, we don't have any guidelines on that. Do we have anything? I know we haven't met, so what are the criteria for the loans or grants, the purpose, the mission for that fund, any written rules, regulations regarding it? What is, I know, I have a lot.
Again, I think it would probably be best and most time efficient to just filter them all and create that entire list of questions, and I can gather all the documentation for you and
Okay,
and we
so
can, and I'll be
but
more than happy
I've
to
already
walk you
asked-
through the
well, I've already
entire
asked
investment
before.
account as well.
So I'll ask again, the original documents and the original resolution doing the Waterman Fisk Fund, and then we can take it from there, and then, just to make sure that
I could
this
answer
is
that one
appropriate.
question very quickly and go grab that document and hand it to you, but I think you have
Well,
a
it
lot more
needs to be
questions than
handed to
that.
everyone.
So I think probably best time.
It might have been even two, because the Waterman Fund came up first.
There were one, yeah, there was actually, the most recent was a resolution to combine them. But those go back for, we'll have to see if we can find the original resolutions.
Yeah, just what was the purpose of it? That's all. I mean, like I said, I could only go back on the town website and find things back to 2009, so. I was just, I want to ask more clarification.
Yeah, they were originally for, quote, at the time, the poor of Coventry.
Okay, but I
So,
think we
you know.
really need to define
It-
what that is.
Yeah, well, the town council gets to, in other words, we are the trustees of the fund.
Mhm.
So in all honesty, the council can determine what is appropriate and what is inappropriate.
But we haven't really, because we saw the reports and we weren't determining that. It was the committee that was
Well,
determining
no,
that.
the council are the trustees, so the
Okay.
council can always override any, the trustee, the committee will, run, in essence, make decisions on the day-to-day. But for instance, even as I had mentioned it before, when there was something out of the ordinary, I think the everyday things that we've done, like I said, with the human services, that we've put that aside. But when you're looking at, and I think that's the paperwork that you want to see, is that the council are the trustees of the fund.
Yeah, I
So
just
we
want to
are the
make sure
final
it
say.
We, in fact, one of the things that I did come across, the committee, the three-member committee, was actually originally set up for loans. It wasn't for any other aspect of it. It was set up simply to approve the loans, not any grants or any of that. It was simply the loan piece of it. So that's what the three-member committee is for. It's for approving loans.
Yeah, because like I said, I'm sitting on this committee, but I have no idea what my
It's
role is.
a
I
great
don't know-
idea to make sure the guidelines and the,
Yep.
We need guidelines.
procedures of the committee
Exactly.
are set.
So I think just the starting point, we
Yeah.
should start there.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so if you would address your concerns, then he can get a copy of all of us for the next meeting or whenever the next meeting will be. Public hearing.
Well, public
And we
hearings
can
after
go
the
through it all.
advertising, correct?
Sure.
So it's going to be a little bit till it comes back.
One
Yes,
very,
you have
very,
something
very
to say?
quick, yeah, very quick. Mr. Arnett, just a quick thing, on page, you might want to take a note, page 128 of 141, under purpose of program, second paragraph, it says, "The program is available for residential property owners, comma, single family and 2-5 residential having tax classification code." I didn't understand what 2-5 residential actually means.
Okay. My packet actually printed every other page, but I do remember that portion of it. The reason why I classified them as O1 and O2 is because that is specific to the residential properties only, and it excludes commercial. So I wanted to make sure that it was included both classes. So I believe the O2 is one.
No, that's the coding. No, what Mrs. Dickson is referring to is the 2 to 5 units.
That's got to be residential.
2 to 5
Residential
residential
what?
units.
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 Okay,
We
could
can
you,
add that in.
could you
Oh,
add
it's
that?
missing that verb?
The units is missing.
Add units. Got it.
It's on page 128 of 141, paragraph 2, under purpose of program, where it says 2-5 residential. I didn't know what that meant. So that means like if you had a condominium, a building or something like that, and there were maybe 2 to 5
I
apartments
was
in
thinking
it?
more or less like a 2 to 3 apartment, like you have the multiple houses.
Yeah,
It has
multifamily.
The multifamily homes.
Well, whatever
Correct.
it is,
That's what I
just a
was
little
thinking.
more clarification would be
'Cause if
required.
there was a condominium, they're usually classified as a commercial entity that subs
Okay.
them out, so it's a commercial entity rather than a residential.
Okay,
Okay, great.
that's it.
All right, thank you. I guess there's no action to be taken, it's open
No,
for first
just a
reading.
reading.
So,
First reading.
So, Madam Clerk, item C, I'm sorry, G2, please.
First reading of amendment to Article 10 of Coventry zoning ordinance and referral to Planning Commission by the Town Clerk as provided in Rhode Island General Law 45-24-27.
Okay, Mr. Manager, Mr. Solicitor, are you prepared to?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, this is first reading. Under the Zoning Enabling Act, there will be an even more elaborate advertising and public hearing schedule. But to give you the gist of this, the changes are, the purpose of this amendment is to bring Article 10 into conformity with the Zoning Enabling Act, because currently the act says that the town council issues licenses for what is essentially earth removal. And the Zoning Enabling Act only allows the zoning board to do that. Now, I can tell you there are some towns where typically before zoning ordinances were adopted, the towns went to the General Assembly and got approval, that is an enabling act for that town itself. Gloucester is one of them, for example, to license earth removal. And I don't know how this ever got in Article 10, whereby the town council would license earth removal, but that's what it says. And the simplest way to bring it into conformity with the Zoning Enabling Act is to take all those functions that were to be performed by the town council and simply say they're now going to be performed by the zoning board. The other thing that's unusual is that the zoning ordinance already says that in most zones, earth removal requires a special use permit. So this just conforms our zoning ordinance to make it so that only the zoning board issues this type of permission. I don't think it will have any significant effect on existing operations in the town, and there are several, as we know. So that's pretty much it. We can have more of a discussion when we have the public hearings that are required by the Zoning Enabling Act and our charter, but that's the gist of it.
So this is the first reading, so.
First reading.
No action to be taken, absolutely, when we have our public hearing. If there are any questions.
Yes.
Mrs. Bacon, if you have questions, again, if you get them to me, we'll get all of what you need.
I only have one.
She can go first.
No, that's okay. No, go ahead, Deb.
Nick, on page 133, it says a special use permit issued by the zoning board of review pursuant to this article shall remain in effect for 2 years. What does that mean? Remain? Because that, well, no, 'cause
What
it then
section
says-
is that in?
it,
Because that's,
10,
right,
13.
yeah. That, you can put a time limit on a special use permit.
Well, because it does, it says on the next one, renewed for an additional 2 years, so.
Right.
It just says in this article, so the permit, does that mean the permit's good for 2 years, the special
The
use
special
permit?
use permit issued by the zoning board, yes.
Okay, for 2 years, and then permit be renewed for another 2 years, okay.
Right,
I
right.
was throwing me.
That was in the original ordinance.
Yeah, it
when
was just
done by the-
throwing me off when it said pursuant
so-
to this article.
When it was supposedly done by the town council. I'm not even aware that the town council ever issued any licenses under Article 10. I don't remember any
I don't recall.
in my years as an observer of the council, but I could be wrong. Anyway,
And then the next one, it's page 135, but it's section, I think it's 1024.
okay, yeah,
It did have a filing fee, and it's crossed out the 1,000.
yes.
So is there a filing fee?
It would be the normal fee on the application
Oh.
schedule for
Okay,
the
so it
zoning
doesn't need to be
ordinance.
listed on here?
No, I don't know where they came up with 1,000 when they put that in. It was put in, and I just don't,
Okay,
I would say so.
okay. And then, oh, I'm sorry, Ann, I got another one. Page 136, 1026. It says zoning board of review shall conduct a public hearing on the application in accordance with this section, and then there's a big space. Is it supposed to have a number in there?
My packet tonight only gave me odd numbered pages. You finally hit an even numbered page, so I, just a minute.
Sure.
Where
It's
were you?
1026?
1026,
And see
thank
where
you.
it says section, is
The
it?
zoning board of review, in accordance with section of this ordinance, I think there was a reason that was left blank. Oh, I think that will be filled in with the section that references special use permits. And there's a section in this Article 10, which pertains specifically to extraction and earth removal, that says that the provisions of this Article 10 are in addition to all of the other requirements for a special use permit. So all this is doing is referencing back to the original special use permit section from which this new Article 10 will derive. Does that make sense?
So
It'll
what's-
be, I don't know the section.
so you
It's
just
gonna
have
be
to put in
filled
the
in.
section. Okay.
It probably should have been filled in. I appreciate you pointing out yet another one of my mistakes and
No,
flaws.
That's okay. And then also.
You said three.
Councilman- I'm done. But this one.
If I've only got three
No,
mistakes,
this
I'm
is-
pretty,
No,
you
this
know.
is Councilman District 5. It's a statement.
Okay. Again. Excuse me?
Oh, no, that was for Kerry.
Oh,
He
okay.
signed it, District 5.
Okay. Yes.
So you'll have that straightened out too, Madam Clerk, the next one. All right. It says District 5.
Oh,
I
does
signed
it?
it. I didn't pick it up when I signed it. I
Okay.
noticed it.
Thank you.
Mr. Gorham, I do have a question, a couple of questions. Back to section 1026.
Yes.
Okay, I'm looking at the flow here, and it says, within 30 days after receipt of an application, the planning commission will conduct a meeting and submit an advisory opinion to the zoning board.
Correct.
Then it says the zoning board will conduct a public hearing on the application. And then it says the planning commission shall conclude its review and submit an advisory opinion to the zoning board of review.
Correct.
And so it's going back and forth. So, I mean, well, I don't understand who's doing what, because it says the zoning board will conduct a public hearing. But then, after they conduct the public hearing, the planning commission is now going to conclude its review. They never got any, I don't know if they're supposed to get a report from the zoning board or what. It said it will conclude a review and submit an advisory opinion to the zoning board, who just gave them an advisory
Yeah,
opinion.
I think originally it was supposed to, where we crossed out the town council, so they, you know, there was a third party
actually-
in there that didn't
Well,
need-
anyway,
that didn't-
I
Well,
think
no,
that.
there's no third party.
So all I'm gonna
It's
say
actually,
is,
I would say it's redundant, but we
Yep.
will clean that up. What,
the flow is crazy.
Yeah.
But
It's,
maybe that's the way we do business.
You don't need that last
Yeah,
sentence.
but
the
anyway,
planning board has to give an advisory opinion to the zoning board.
Right.
That's required, well, it's not required by law. Under 4524, 49A of the Zoning Enabling Act, the town has the option of requiring an advisory opinion from the planning commission to the zoning board about whether the application is a good idea or not. That's under 49A.
yeah.
And
I
you're right,
just think
it's
the
not
flow-
written
the flow should be
perfectly
just
well.
reviewed. Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Well,
it.
you just gotta
We
remove
will-
that
we
last
will-
sentence, because it used to be town council, which is a third party, so we already have it included up
Yeah.
further. That just
Okay.
needs to be
So that's,
removed, that
that's,
last sentence.
that's the first thing, just check it out.
It's
okay?
beautifully and harmlessly redundant, but I agree it should be removed.
Okay, now, the next thing I have to ask is, this is an ordinance having to do with earth removal, gravel extractions, et cetera, but it also includes the operation of plants for rock crushing, et cetera.
Yes.
Now, we approved, for the center of New England, the processing of materials, asphalt materials that are in a big pile back there, and there will be some crushing, et cetera. So this ordinance says that the town council does not issue a license for this kind of work to be done.
Yes.
But we did give approval for this kind of work to be done at the center of New England. So I'm just wondering if there is some problem here in what we've done versus what this says we can do.
That was a consent judgment, and one of the reasons that we did it is because we did not, we had not amended Article 10 to make it conform with the Zoning Enabling Act. And I felt that the safest way to ensure the welfare of the people who live near the processing site
Sure.
at the center of New England was to do it through a consent judgment. That's why we did it that way, because we hadn't undertaken this exercise, which I believe we're now going to undertake. That was why, and I did explain that to the council at the time.
So this exercise meaning approving an ordinance.
Yeah, updating
Okay.
the ordinance to make
I
it
knew we didn't have
conform.
one, okay.
We didn't have it then, and I
Yes,
didn't
we
want to
didn't.
take the chance that, you
Okay.
know, so that was the safest way to do it.
Okay, now I understand that.
Yes.
And the other thing is, in section 1031, it does mention something about noise control berms.
Yes.
But I'm wondering if someplace in this ordinance, it can refer to, like, see also Coventry's noise ordinance, because we're going to be updating it. And I think it's useful when you have operations that involve crushing of rocks, et cetera, that there be some reference to the fact that we do have a noise ordinance, and that whoever's doing this work needs to adhere to that other ordinance too.
I'll make a change doing
You
that.
can check it, thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate
great.
that.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions yet, I'd like to say, first reading, we'll be discussing this topic again. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Please limit the comments to 3 minutes. If anybody in the public would like to make a comment this time? Seeing none? Chair, we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming to the meeting tonight.